9 countries around the world have developed the technology needed for nuclear weapons. In other words, 9 countries could end our world as we know it in a split second. Since we live in the US, we are fairly protected from these weapons, but not entirely. It is important to learn about these nuclear weapons because many countries have access to them, and they are very dangerous to our lives if used. Nuclear bombs have affected people around the world in many detrimental ways. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the direct effects of nuclear bombs, the long-term effects through nuclear radiation, and the fear instilled into the brains of everyone because of these weapons. Let's start with the visible damage typically associated with nuclear bombs. Nuclear weapons have terrorized people around the world with their instant mass destruction. According to a 2005 PBS article called The Types of Nuclear Bombs, there are 3 main types: atomic bombs, hydrogen bombs, and dirty bombs. Atomic bombs are the typical types of bombs and were the first to be created. They create lots of heat and electricity and lots of damage around them. However, hydrogen bombs hold up to 1,000 times the amount of energy as atomic bombs and are much more destructive. Dirty bombs don't cause much physical destruction, but they cause lots of nuclear radiation to be created, which can be very deadly as well. All of nuclear bombs are very detrimental though. The biggest ones, which are hydrogen bombs, can destroy everything in a several mile radius, including buildings, people, and all the land too. In addition, they can blind people several miles away just because of the intense light. Now that we have discussed the direct effects of a nuclear blast, let's move on to the long-term effects through radiation. Nuclear bombs affect people long-term and long distance through nuclear radiation that is created. According to a 2019 article from nuclearfiles.org called Key Issues: Nuclear Weapons, nuclear radiation can spread hundreds of miles from the detonation site. It is carried in the stereotypical mushroom cloud that many people think of when they think of nuclear bombs. It may take up to a couple days in order for it to travel those distances, but once it does, it can be very detrimental to humans by damaging their tissues and causing their organs to malfunction. Nuclear radiation is even more of a threat in these ways just because it can travel such far distances and affect so many more people than the blast itself. After telling you more about the second way that nuclear bombs can affect you physically, it's time to move on to the mental aspect. Because of the awful damage that nuclear bombs are associated with, many people in the world are afraid of one being detonated near them. You may think that one will never be detonated around you, or you might think the concept itself is very crazy, but according to Curtis LeMay and Paul Tibbetts' 2014 article called The Bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 2 bombs have been detonated in the purpose of harming people. They were both used at the end of World War II by the US in Hiroshima and in Nagasaki in Japan. They affected many hundreds of thousands of people in a detrimental way, but have not been used since, although they are still a big threat. According to Kelsey Davenport and Kingston Rife's 2019 article called Nuclear Weapons: Who Has What at a Glance, some countries with unstable governments also have access to nuclear weapons, especially North Korea. Even if they detonated just one bomb, many other countries could join in, and World War III could be upon us, and the world as we know it would not be in a good place. Today, I talked to you about the visible damage typically associated with nuclear bombs, the long-term radiation that is sometimes overlooked by people but is just as deadly, and the fear instilled into the hearts of everyone because of these weapons. Nuclear bombs have affected people around the world in many detrimental ways. Using this information, use it wisely, and you never know when a World War III could start because of these nuclear bombs.